They brought in Juan Soto. They traded away a young pitcher that became a star over there in San Diego, which we expect. The King is a special player, and he's only going to get better and better as he moves forward over there in San Diego. And now Juan Soto's a New York Met. We sat on this show and we said, where do the Yankees go? Do they bring back Juan Soto, or do they take that money and split it up and try to make this roster better? What did you think the Yankees needed to do in the offseason to make their team better?
Well, I knew their plan A was going to be throw as much money as they could at Soto, but I really had doubts that they were ever going to be able to outbid Steve Cohen because, look, even where things went with that, you saw what Soto got. Who's to say if the Yankees had matched that, the Mets would have just kept on bidding? Like, where does it stop? He would have gone to 800. I don't think there was any turning down Steve Cohen there. And the only chance I felt like the Yankees bringing back Soto as we watch him hit a pennant-winning home run here, the only chance I thought was maybe that 1 year with the Yankees was so awesome, and he loved being in the clubhouse, and he loved being with Judge, and just he was in, just swooning over the idea of someday being in Monument Park. But let's call it what it was. He was a hired gun. He was brought in to get the Yankees back to the World Series. He did it, and there was not going to be any hometown discount. Obviously he stayed in the same town, but he took every dollar on the table, and that was his right. And so that was kind of always in the back of my mind. My sense being in the clubhouse, I thought he enjoyed being around the Yankees, but he was out there to set a record, and he was going to go to whoever offered him the most dollars, and that was the New York Mets.
What do you think, like, the holdup with either getting a first baseman, adding a couple pieces, maybe an outfielder? What's the holdup on Belly and Walker? From what I've heard and what we've talked about, one is years and the other is taking over the money. I feel like they've got to get one or two of those guys, if not, try to get a couple more pieces of the puzzle. But what direction do you think they're going to go in now?
I think Bellinger makes so much sense because he can help you in the outfield. He gets Judge out of center field potentially, and whether that winds up being Jason Dominguez in center, maybe you have Bellinger in left. There's a lot of flexibility there. And one thing that Bellinger can do also, he can play first base for you. And that wouldn't be my first choice of where to use him, but you certainly could get by with Bellinger as a first baseman. You got that left-handed bat. You put that in Yankee Stadium. They had a game 2 years ago, I think. The Cubs came into Yankee Stadium, and he hit one in the second deck. And I thought, right down that right field line, a Yankee Stadium special. And I said, that would look great here. And I thought that that's where they were going to go last offseason. I wouldn't count on them getting Juan Soto. That was obviously the better move. But now you get a second chance here to bring in Bellinger. And he's got the New York connection. His dad played for the Yanks. That's cool. But what's cooler is he would actually fit a real need for this Yankee team. And so far, everything I've heard is what you're hearing, Joba, is that it's probably going to happen. It's just a matter of the Yankees need to pick up more money than the Cubs. The Cubs want them to pick up more money. And I feel like maybe after the new year, that gets worked out.
So Kyle Tucker was the almost trade. Obviously, the Yankees had the trade package came out, and it looked like it was more than what the Cubs offered them. So would you have given that much if you were the Yankees in that situation? And what do you think about Tucker and the Cubs and the Astros?
Kyle Tucker's really good, guys. I think he's underestimated a lot for a guy who is a perennial all-star, and he's an all-star caliber type player. He's got speed. I mean, he can play defense for you. He does a lot. I feel like nationwide, he's underrated, and I feel like when he gets in that big spotlight, I don't know if Chicago is going to be that for him, but one day he's going to be there and people are going to realize how good this guy is. And so that's a lot to give up for a rental, but I think I would have done it in that situation. If it was Luis Gil straight up for Tucker for 1 year of Kyle Tucker, I think I'd do it. But I think from what I've heard, the Astros wanted Gil plus a lot more. And so at some point, the Yankees just said, no, thanks.
The Yankees, obviously, and I said this before Soto was going to sign with the New York Mets. If Soto goes to the Mets, the Yankees are in 24 hours is going to make a huge move, and they're going to bring somebody in. And I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Max Fried. And then what happens 24 hours later? Max Fried is a New York Yankee, signed an 8-year deal worth about $218 million. What were your thoughts when the Yankees brought him in? Do you think that was too much money? I think the annual rate of 27.5 is a good price for a left-handed pitcher. And I also believe that 4 or 5 years down the road, you can move him to the bullpen, and it's still underpaying a guy that could be your future closer.
Could be, I guess. I think right now the Yankees need him to be their number 2 behind Garrett Cole. And they obviously threw a lot of money at Carlos Rodon, and he's been pretty up and down the first 2 years there. So if you can have a playoff rotation with Cole and then Max Fried, I mean, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch at the top, and I'll take my chances there going in. And so, I wasn't surprised. I guess maybe a little surprised by the years on that contract, but it seems like there were a lot of teams willing to go to 7, and the Yankees just said, fine, we'll go to 8. Like, let's bring it in. Let's do it. And I think that, that Soto deal came down on a Sunday. They kind of licked their wounds on Monday. And then by nightfall on Tuesday, they had Max Fried. So, yeah, it's a lefty. Lefties in Yankee Stadium are always a good idea to have some there. And, starting pitching is now a strength. I mean, it was a strength to begin with, but you see that making the trade with Nestor Cortez, they've just got too many arms now in the rotation. And they're clearing some space, and I feel like they've improved. If you give me the choice of Max Fried or Nestor Cortez in a playoff game, I think that's a pretty no-brainer for me.
And so when you bring in Max, and we've seen in the last few years how he creates soft contact.
Mm-hmm.
How important do you think that is to have corner guys where they're going to put the ball in play? It's going to be soft contact, where that's kind of been an issue, over the last couple of years. And obviously from the talks of it, they're going to move Jazz back to second. He had 7 errors at third. It's just, obviously, it's a tough position.
Never played it before either. He's brand new to it. They acquired him, they plugged him right in, and that considered that he'd never done it professionally at any level. It was pretty good. Yeah, it was better than I expected. But I think that if you can find a guy who has a Gold Glove caliber, if it's an Alex Bregman, if it's a Nolan Arenado, I don't know exactly where they're looking to go and what to spend on that third baseman there, but I think that's the right move. You put Jazz at second. He's a converted shortstop. He'll be much better there. I think he'll be an upgrade over what Gleyber Torres was. And you mentioned the corner there too. Anthony Rizzo, his reputation was as a great glove, but really last year and for the last year plus, that had fallen off quite a bit, especially last year. There were some plays that it's just like, he doesn't look right over there. I don't know if it was a concussion or missing so much time, but it just looked like he wasn't able to make the plays that you thought Anthony Rizzo should make. And so, infield defense is huge. I know they love Volpe at short, so that's something to work with there. And Jazz, I think if you put him at second base, you're going to like what you see.